So you're thinking of moving out of California and coming to Dallas, Texas? Well, in today's video, I'm going to tell you about myself and my story and the main reasons that I left California and moved to Dallas, Texas. My name's AJ, I'm with the Living in Dallas team, and I went through exactly what you guys are about to go through, moving out of state to Dallas, Texas. But let me tell you, it was the best decision that I ever made. I worked with Levi and Travis to help find a home for me, myself, and my family, and I had such a great experience that I ended up joining the Living in Dallas team. So now I made it a goal of mine to help people just like you make a smooth move to Dallas, Texas. All right, guys, so the first reason I want to bring up is when I was in California, I lived in LA. No, a little bit about myself. I lived in LA. I was in the film business for 20 years, lighting director on a lot of big shows, Dancing with the Stars, American Idol. I was doing great out there. Everything was great. But it got to the point where I just couldn't take this big city anymore. It was lacking a lot of things for me. So the biggest reason I think that I want to start with is a sense of community. So, you know, in LA, everyone's in their own little pocket. I mean, in California in general, but, you know, more in LA, everyone's in their own little pocket. You know, you have all these different little cities, but I didn't really have a sense of community and a real feel of that we were connected. I have two girls and a beautiful wife. I got a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they got more friends out here than they had in LA. They got more friends in 2 months than they did in 2 years out there. So the communities are super tight-knit group. So I'm in a little town called Prosper, and it's blowing up right now. But just to give you an example, we had the mayor of the city read all the kids a Christmas story before the fireworks show right at City Hall. So, I mean, that was just incredible. You know, my wife was in tears. Like, you know, we knew within the first probably 2 weeks of being here that we did the right thing. It was a big move. You know, I left my career. I started over. I joined this team. And like I said, guys, I can't say it enough. It was the best decision I ever made. It was a big step. But once I really committed to it, like we knew in our hearts that it was the right place to be. So another point I want to touch on is the schools. It was a big reason for us. We made a lot of sacrifices in our life to put our kids into some private schools because the public schools in Los Angeles are just not so good. Now, there are some pockets of California I know that have good schools and have some good public school systems, but for the most part, it's not really what I wanted my kids to be exposed to. So we had put it in private school and we made a lot of sacrifices financially so we could do that. Well, I come out here to Texas and the schools are great. You know, there are a lot of exemplary schools out here, Class A schools rated 7, 8s, 9s, even 10s out of 10s. So being able to have that for free is a unbelievable perk that I could kind of take off my monthly nut, you know. So that was an awesome thing. I live in a community called Windsong Ranch where the school's actually at the end of my block. So, I mean, I happen to get the best of that. But, you know, Prosper ISD, Frisco ISD, McKinney ISD, I mean, these are just great exemplary rated schools. And once again, they all have this sense of community, you know. It feels like the opposite of LA for me. You know, it was everything that we were looking for. So if you're looking for good schools, this is the place to be. The next thing I want to talk about, guys, is your freedom of thought. And, you know, not a political thing. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. I felt in California, and especially in LA, and I worked in Hollywood, that everyone was kind of on this side or that side, and everyone kind of had their tribe. Well, I feel like once I come out here to Texas, we don't really talk about that much anymore. You know, it's not really something that comes up in a lot of conversations. So contrary to what you might hear or think or see, Texas is a big melting pot of people, and the diversity of thought out here is unbelievable, and I don't see anyone getting judged for any of their thoughts or opinions or political anything. So I think that was a really big point for me, that to feel like we're all kind of on the same page just as human beings, and we really all have a lot more in common than we do to separates us. So I felt that when I came out here to Texas, I really found that was a main thing out here. It was like a live and let live mentality, and that was a big deal for me. And just to go along with that point of the freedom of thought, this isn't the Texas from 50 years ago that you might have heard about. This is a new place, man. This is like, there's every walk of life out here, every ethnicity. There is so much diversity. I mean, I walk through my kid's school and I'm just blown away at the diversity out here. So contrary to what you might see somewhere on the news, or you might see somewhere, in a story somewhere, like, this is just a huge melting pot of cultures, ethnicities, and I've never had so much diversity around my kids, and it's fantastic. I mean, it is. I look at the faces of the kids that my kids are playing with, and I'm blown away. I feel like it's the United Nations meeting when we're outside playing in the street, man. So it's really incredible. All right, guys. The next thing I want to touch on are property taxes. So I know that it comes up a lot that, oh, property taxes are so high in Texas, and oh, the property taxes. But listen, guys, this was something you got to remember. There's zero state income tax. So first of all, you got that big offset. California has some of the biggest, I think it is the biggest state income tax bracket that is in all the nation. Well, out here in Texas, 0% income tax, baby. You get to keep it. Pretty killer. Now, there are high property taxes, and it depends on which region you're in, which city you're in, and they do differ. But just to give you an example, I'm in Prosper, and it's about 2 to 2.5% property tax. But here's the thing, guys. What you get for your money out here is 100% more of what you're getting in California. I was paying big property taxes in California, and I drive around the streets. There's potholes everywhere. There's people sleeping underneath the bridges. There was trash everywhere, graffiti everywhere. What you're getting back for your taxes is an immense value. I think Prosper ISD gives over 60% of the property taxes goes to the schools. So when you drive around these schools, I mean, the middle schools look like high schools, the high schools look like colleges. I mean, it's phenomenal. I remember when I first got here, I was driving around and we thought we were looking at a college, and then we saw that it said, "Oh no, this is a high school." We're blown away. So yes, there are some higher property taxes. It's offset by no state income tax, and what you're getting for your money is a immense value for your money. So don't worry too much about the high property taxes, guys. When you drive around these streets and you see how green they are, that there's no graffiti, there's no trash, you're gonna feel okay about it, trust me. I got over it real quick. So the next thing I want to talk about, guys, is just the overall cleanliness of the cities out here. It's like, I was used to living in LA. I was used to being around in all places in California, and man, there's trash everywhere. Like, even in the nice cities, I grew up in the Pacific Palisades, the Brentwood area. I was in Manhattan Beach, so I was lucky to have these nice cities that I grew up in, man. I was happy to have that. I eventually ended up in the San Fernando Valley, out in Van Nuys, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know. Bought a house with my wife, and settled down out there in the valley where it was a little more affordable. But even in the valley, when I had left, I'd come out of our nice home and we look around, and there's still people sleeping everywhere. There's people like shooting heroin on the side of the road. I mean, and it blew my mind when I got out here and I looked around these communities. I didn't see all the trash around, all the graffiti. Now look, there's obviously places in every major city. In Dallas, there's definitely parts of Dallas that are going to have some higher crime and a little bit more of a dirty area, but for the most part, the suburbs around the Dallas area, especially in that northern Dallas area that's really blowing up right now, man, I can't tell you how nice and clean it is out there. I'm blown away. Every time I drive on these streets, my wife and I are like, "Oh, look, they're doing more road work. They're doing this. They're putting in new green." I mean, the amount of effort that they're putting into these streets out here, it's unbelievable. You don't realize how much of a difference that makes just in your mental psyche as you're driving around, and it's all clean and green. And when you're driving around and you're like swerving around people that are running through the street in LA, and there's trash everywhere. I mean, it really just plays a toll on your psyche, and this is part of the reason that I kind of felt like I gotta get my family out of here. I gotta get my kids out of here and make the right moral decision to get them in a place where they're going to be able to flourish and also have a chance to be kids for a little bit. My kids are still young, and I want them to have a chance to be kids and not have to grow up so fast. And the pace of LA is so fast, and living in California is such a push to do so much. I want them to have a little life as kids out here. I know we've all grown accustomed to the streets of California, but when you get out here, you're going to really realize what a big difference it is. So the next big point for me was the safety aspect. Guys, I felt like we lived in a pretty good area of LA. We were in Van Nuys, as you know, little pockets, but I wouldn't let my kid ride around the block without me being able to see her. I would freak out like, oh my God, where'd she go? She went around the block. That's not how I grew up, and I'm sure it's not how a lot of you grew up. But California is not the place that it used to be. We grew up riding our bikes, coming home with the street lights come on. That wasn't what I felt anymore living in LA anymore. I was always nervous, man. I was always scared about, someone kidnapping or some crazy homeless person doing something crazy to the kids. So, look, it feels so safe out here, guys. So safe. Now, once again, there's always little parts of big cities that are going to have their dangerous aspects to it. But for the most part, in the suburbs of the Dallas and surrounding areas, especially, like I say, up in this northern areas, man, the safety, I walk around this place feeling like nothing's going to go wrong. For my kids, my 4-year-old and 8-year-old, they play outside. Half the time I don't even know where they are. Well, maybe I should check on them. No, I'm joking, guys. I know where they are, but they're out in the street playing with their friends. The street lights come on, and they know to come home. So it was just such a great, like, with the community, the cleanliness, and the safety aspect. It was like, man, this is the right place to raise my family. So, if you have grown accustomed to living in LA and just feeling like, hey, that's the way that life is, it's not, guys. It doesn't have to be that way. I thought that for a long time. Like, hey, this is it. I just got to grit and bear it. This is where I live. This is where I work. But you know what? I know there's big sacrifices to make, and I know it's a difficult decision, but I did it, guys. I did it, and you can do it too. I went through the same exact thing, and like I said, guys, it was the best decision I made. All right, everybody, the next thing I want to talk about is the weather. I know that you hear about Texas being this terrible, muggy, nasty place. Now, that can be true for some parts of Texas. You go down to Houston, you're gonna get some humidity down there. You're gonna get some nastiness. But up here in the Dallas area and the northern Dallas area, the weather's actually quite nice. Now, look, I came from the San Fernando Valley where we had some heat anyway, but it's a different kind of heat. It's dry heat. But look, I feel that it's kind of nice to have some seasons. We don't have any seasons in California. So I felt that it was nice to have seasons, but mild seasons. I'm not out here plowing the driveway. I'm not here, sweating through a shirt. Like, it's pretty mild. There is some humidity in the summer, and it does get a little hot, but I feel that it's totally tolerable. And look, coming from California, where I was born and raised my whole life, I feel like the weather is quite enjoyable out here. So, when people say the weather in Texas, ask them where in Texas, because it's going to make a big difference. Like I said, up here, it's pretty enjoyable weather, almost year round, man. It feels nice. I'm okay with it. So the next thing, guys, is the lack of beach, right? Look, I grew up right on the West Coast, right on the beach, and I was at the beach every day. I was surfing. It was part of my life. So I totally feel when you guys are like, well, I can't leave the beach. I can't leave the beach. This is my life, and I totally get it. I did it. I left the beach, and I don't miss it. I'm telling you guys, the lake life out here is phenomenal. It's a big deal to get out on that lake, but some of most gorgeous lakes out here with big, huge bodies of water. I personally don't really miss the beach. There are some of these awesome master plan communities, such as Windsong Ranch. I happen to know a little bit about Windsong Ranch. They built a lagoon. They built a beach of their own. So, when I saw that, I was like, oh, look it. I can have some sand and some water and feel like you're kind of at the beach, So I'm not really missing the beach. I think the lake life is awesome. There's a lot of people with boats out here. It's the big thing to do out here during the summer. And even if you don't have a boat, guys, a lot of these lakes have an awesome little beach for all the kids to play and swim. So if you're feeling like, oh, I can't ever leave the beach, just know that there's a lot of options out here for a lot of water play and being around water. Like I said, a lot of these bigger communities up there in Prosperous Salina, they're building more lagoon type, beach feels that you'll be able to get that sense of that you're still there. So don't think you're going to miss it too much. I haven't missed it so much. In fact, I don't miss it at all. I love the lake life out here. I think it's great. So the next thing I'll talk about, guys, is the traffic. So I know you hear that Dallas is definitely blowing up. There's a lot of people coming in, and it's true. It's a very, very busy city that people are moving into. It's the number one place for people to move, number one place for businesses to move. So it is getting a lot more populated. When people talk about Dallas traffic and they talk about traffic in these surrounding areas, I look around and I go, where's the traffic? I mean, look, I came from Los Angeles. It used to take me 2 hours to go 17 miles. So when people say I'm in traffic, like the traffic's always flowing here. You're not like dead stopped in the freeway. Traffic's flowing, you're moving, you're at least moving. So I haven't felt at all that the traffic is crazy. There's mostly a lot of tollways out here, so there is a little tolls to pay, but you can pick up a quick little toll tag, and it's not really that expensive. I travel the tollways every day, and maybe cost me like $50 a month right now to do that. So it hasn't really been that crazy. I haven't hit any traffic like I've hit in LA. Sometimes she'll be in the car with me and like, oh, this is terrible. I'm like, dang, you guys haven't been in real traffic. So I know you guys in California, especially in the bigger cities, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So listen, guys, those are the main bullet points of why I decided to move out here to Dallas, Texas. Now, once again, it's a big decision to pack up your family, maybe quit your job, relocate to another place. Like, I get it. It's a big deal. I had to dig down deep and figure out what was right for me. I had a great career, and it was a big decision for me. But you know what? I just realized that there was more to life and there was more to being here than just my career and just being in the place that I was born and raised or just being in Los Angeles. I had to really do some searching about what's the most important things for me in life. And it was to enjoy my family, to actually be with my kids, to watch them grow up and let them be kids out here in Texas. So I know it's a tough struggle, guys, but just remember, I went through the exact same thing. And I was scared, I was really scared. But I did it. I dug down deep and found that courage. And like I said, I can't say it enough, guys. It was the best decision I ever made. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I've now made it my personal mission to help people just like you get over that hump and find that courage and dig down deep and come out here to this great place, this great state of Texas. There's so much to do out here. I'm going to just tell you, I don't miss California one bit. I don't miss Los Angeles one bit. I don't miss the homelessness. I don't miss the traffic. I don't miss the trash. I don't miss all the high prices for gas. I don't miss any of that. I mean, it's fantastic out here, guys. So keep watching, stick around, and, I'll be back with another video. We'll talk about some more points of the reasons why I left California. All right, guys.